As you're flying over the Austrian Alps, you look down below you, and you realize all the cliches about Austria are true. Yes, the hills are alive! Music, you can see Maria there, beautiful von Trapp children running over there by that tree. Then you remember what happened back at the cafeteria before you got on this chairlift. You had ordered from the Austrian waiter, Zwei Coca-Cola. Look how clever you were. You said Zwei Coca-Cola instead of Zwei Coca-Cola. Zwei means two, but you use the European two instead of the American two. You're super clever. Zwei. 5 minutes later, the waiter returns with 5 Coca-Colas and puts them right in front of you. You're by yourself. The reason why he put 5 is no American, of course, could speak German at all. So when you said Zwei, you meant 5 Coca-Colas. Feeling a little bloated as you're riding to the top of the hill. And it's summertime. You've never been on a chairlift in the summertime. You're not wearing skis. You're not on a snowboard. How the hell are you going to get off this chairlift? You're a little worried about that, and as the chairlift arrives to the top of the hill, you fall and do 3 or 4 somersaults, and you brush yourself off at the top of the hill. And then you notice a beautiful sign, wood sign, carved in the distance, right there in front of you, and it says, Willkommen Deutschland, welcome to Germany. You've just crossed by chairlift from Austria into Germany, and you're looking around very confused on the top of this hill. Something's not quite right. It's really weird, because you see, Germany looks just like Austria.
On December 17th, 2010, just a few months ago, in the small little village of Sidi Bouazid in Tunisia, a young 24-year-old fruit seller who had a really cool, neat little fruit stall with his scales, named Mohamed Bouazizi, was selling his fruits in the morning in this village of Sidi Bouazid in Tunisia. A female government inspector asked him for his license, and there was some small problem with his license. She yelled at him, took it away, slapped him around a bit, and then took away his scales. So Mohammed was left unable to sell any of his fruits without his scales. The scales were very important. So the next day, Mohammed went in front of the small little government office in this tiny little town of Sidi Bouazid in Tunisia and protested for this injustice, demanding that they at least speak to him, at least draw some attention to the fact he really needs his scales back, and allow him to resolve the issue with the license. And nothing happens. And the next day he goes back to protest by himself again, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next week, and a week after that, and then a month later he wakes up in the morning, and as he's heading over to his daily protest, he buys a gallon of gasoline, and then when he arrives at the small government office in the tiny town of Sidi Bouazid in Tunisia, he pours the gasoline all over himself and he lights himself on fire. This gets the attention of the government officials, and then the next day 50 people are protesting in front of this tiny government office in this tiny town of Sidi Bouazid in Tunisia, and the day after that 500, and the day after that 5,000, and then in all the towns, and then in Tunis, and then everywhere else, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. The moment that Muhammad lit himself on fire was border crossing 11.
10, excuse me.
Okay. I have a confession to make, a super huge public confession. I once broke federal law, United States federal law. Stupid. I mean, the law is unconstitutional, but still it's on the books, so you'd have to contest it in court. But I basically used a passport from the United States of America to travel to Cuba, which is illegal, punishable by a fine of $1 million and or 10 years in prison. And to do this, I basically just took a bus up to Montreal and then caught a flight from Montreal's Duval Airport down to the international airport of Havana, Cuba. Hola, bienvenido a Cuba, pasaporte. Gracias. A un americano. Juanico, tengo aquí un americano. Now, immediately, you have to tell the agent, I had to tell him, please don't put a stampa cubano, celo cubano, no Cuban stamp in the passport, because the Cubans don't care if you go, but your country certainly will care if there's a huge stamp that says Cuba in it. You will be fined $1 million and or sent to jail for 10 years. I think you get a choice. So you say, no celo cubano, por favor. And the agent smiles. Espere, un momento. Juanico, tráigame el celo verde. Gringo, quiero un celo verde, Juanico. And you wait a couple of minutes. Juanico, ¿dónde está el celo? Celo verde. Gracias, Juanico, el celo verde. And then Juanico comes in bringing in a little stamp kit, and they stamp it, and boom, on my passport was a tiny green toy train. Which means to the Cuban agent and to me as well that I passed into Cuba. It means nothing to anyone else. Perhaps maybe my little cousin was playing with her little stamps inside my passport. And the agent gave me back my new green train stamped passport and said,
Bienvenido a Cuba!
Cuba is shaped like a little rectangle, and I was in the town of Trinidad, Cuba, which is a cobblestone colonial city on the southern end. Very simply, I wanted to go to